So since Phase 2 dropped, there's tons and tons of loot in both 10 and 25 man, giving you lots and lots of options for gearing up your character. You could go for a realistic BIS set that you've got a lot of chance at getting, or as a rep paladin, for example, you could compete with all those pesky rogues and ferals and enhancement shamans and hunters and everybody else that wants leather gear to try and get your absolute BIS. The thing is, you might not be someone that actually sits on Wowhead BIS lists or WowTBC.gg BIS lists or the class discords or something like that, and you just want a quick reference. You just want to see when an item drops, is this one of the good items for my class? And if you're in a pug, or even if you're in a guild raid that's like need over greed, you're just rolling or whatever, you need to know fairly quick because you don't want to miss out on any items, but at the same time, you don't want to take any items that you're not even going to use. So having to go on any of these websites just to actually go and see if this item is good for you, because most of the time you'll just be trying to tick off one of the items from each slot. So let's say you might not be able to get your absolute BIS helm or what's considered BIS on Wowhead, but the second or third option might do you. Did you know you can do all this in-game? So if you head over to CurseForge or you use the app, you can find an add-on called BIS Tooltip. And what this basically does is gives you in-game BIS lists that are directly from Wowhead or WowTBC.gg, and you can now check these for every class. It gives you the top 6 items, and it also adds enhanced tooltips as well, where it gives you a quick breakdown on who these items are good for. So when we're jumped in game, if we was to look at, let's say, the weapon, for example, Hammer of Crushing Whispers, you can see on the tooltip here, it drops in tier 8. You know it's not from pre-raid or tier 7 because it's not included in the list. For a Blood Death Knight tank, it's 4th on their BIS list, 5th for a feral tank, 5th for a feral DPS, 3rd for a rep paladin, and 3rd for a warrior. If you then go to the tooltip, so I use Minimap Button Bag, which stores all of my add-on little buttons, so if you wanted to grab that, feel free. If you go up to the BIS tooltips, you can then go into your class, so it's got all of them here. You can go to Paladin, we could go to Retribution, we can change it from pre-raid to tier 7 to tier 8, so let's go to tier 8, and now it's got every item for each slot, giving you 6 options. It even shows you the gems that you should put in these items, or it will at least be looking at the first item because not all of them will have a socket, for example. But if it has got a socket, it's showing you what you should put in there, as well as enchants for each of the items as well. Now, the great thing about this is if we look at Ret, because Ret is actually my off-spec, so if we was to look through the list, you can see I've not got a head that's considered in the top 6 for Ret. I've not got a neck that's in the top 6, but I do have shoulders that are coming in at 5th. You know, I've got the cape that comes in at 5th. I've not got bracers. So it's very easy to work out where I need to really focus on upgrades first, because if I've not got a tick next to any of these legs, I know my legs don't even make it in the top 6, which ain't ideal, even though it's just an off-spec and it barely matters. But if it's your main spec, like Hole is my main spec, you want to be seeing lots of ticks in lots of places, which that definitely looks a lot healthier. Still missing that though, which sucks. But 7 fragments, 2 resets, could be better. I know people who have got 7 in one run. Sucks to be me. So that's step 1. So being able to have a very quick look at each class and spec and see what's good for you, obviously, this is brilliant. The fact that it adds things onto the tooltip as well. So when an item drops, you can very quickly see where it sits in the ranking system on your BIS list for each slot. Now, what if you want to use these and then make one specific BIS list? I apologise in advance if I'm teaching you how to suck eggs, but I'm sure all of you by now have got Atlas loot. And Atlas loot shows you all the loot from each boss. I wouldn't imagine there's many people that watch this video that don't actually have this add-on. Although I'm sure one of you are going to angrily comment saying, I've never used Atlas loot, I just look on Thoughtbot still. Well, good luck to you. Why do people always try to get me to do stuff as soon as I start recording? So when you're in Atlas loot, if you, let's say, had your BIS list open side by side, you was looking at this and you was like, right, I really want Cowl of Luminescence. It drops from Mimiron. You could go to Mimiron. You could then find Cowl of Luminescence. You can then hold Alt and left click and it puts a little star next to the item. So that's now on your favorites. So if you was to then go, oh, I really like the neck from, let's say, Flame Leviathan 25, but all the spellcasters are going to want that. So I'll go for one a bit easier to get and go for Iron Council 10 man. You can now switch it to 10 man, go to Iron Council, find that neck, which is Watchful Eye of Fate, Alt and left click, it's got a little star. And then what this does is when you actually close this completely, if you put 1 for each slot and then you go to your Atlas loot and you right click instead of left click, it opens this, which will show all your favorites, and this will be your gear setup. You can do a chat link so you can show everybody in your raid or in your guild what you want your BIS list to look like actually in-game. And quite honestly, overall, it's just very useful as a reference, just as a reference piece. You could even just have the items that you need on that list, and as you actually obtain one of the items, you unfavorite it. So that part of the interface now in Atlas Loot is just going to show the items that you still want. It's just all ways of being able to manage such a ridiculous amount of loot, because there's so much loot, it's very overwhelming. What comes from 10, what comes from 25. We get people saying, oh, that might be a site upgrade, I'll go for that, when it could be someone else's BIS. We've got people who are saying, oh no, that's not my BIS, when it actually is. You know, there's just so many different items that drop of varying item level that it can all get very confusing. So having quick references actually in-game is banging. Now, I'm going to go and help the guild with OS2D because apparently they need me. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe. See you on the next one. Boom.